My green tea, like younger sister who always opposes me, is the fake sister who was switched at birth. The moment I saw my real younger sister, I knew it. Now the little green tea has an opponent. As long as they keep fighting among themselves, everything in the family will belong to me. I was still at work when I received a call from the butler. I never expected that the sister who had been competing with me for favor, both openly and secretly, turned out to be an imposter who was switched at birth. And today, my real younger sister came to our house with a paternity test. Does that mean my fake sister will be sent back to her original family? I was so excited that I skipped work right away. I was going home to pack my dear sister's luggage. As soon as I arrived at the gate, I saw the butler waiting for me there. "Miss, you're back." Both of us wore expressions of schadenfreude. My younger sister has been a green tea type since childhood, always competing with me for favor. Once, she skipped school to go to a concert and didn't get home until midnight. Then she shifted the blame to the butler, saying that he didn't pick her up from school, making her walk for so long to get home. That day, my sister cried pitifully. No matter how the butler explained, my biased mother just wouldn't believe him. She even wanted to fire the butler who had worked for many years. It was only because of my pleading that the butler was able to stay. Since then, the butler has held a grudge against my sister. Every time we quarreled, he would stand by my side without hesitation and defend me. "How's the situation inside?" The butler leaned in mysteriously and whispered in my ear. "You're back just in time. It's just getting started." I nodded and pushed open the door. There was my fake sister, Linda, crying pitifully, just like she did after that concert. "Mom, since your biological daughter is back, I'll leave now and won't disturb your family reunion." Before my mom could say anything, my real younger sister spoke first. "Mom, maybe I shouldn't have come. Is sister angry with me? After my adoptive parents passed away, I found out that I was switched at birth. I just wanted to meet you. If sister doesn't like it, I'll leave now." Goodness, I stood at the door, completely stunned. My real younger sister was wearing a plain white dress, her eyes slightly red, but she stubbornly held back her tears, looking just like a pure white lotus. What kind of epic showdown was this? A battle between a green tea and a pure lotus. However, for now, it seemed that my mom was more taken in by the pure lotus act. My mom hugged my real younger sister, Nicole, affectionately, crying uncontrollably. "Nicole, my dear daughter, you've had a tough time these years. Now that your adoptive parents are gone, where else would you go? You're so young. How can you support yourself?" "Mom, I'm working part-time while studying now. I help wash dishes in the cafeteria after class. I can support myself." When my mom heard this, she felt extremely heartbroken. She held her hand firmly, insisting that she stay. I turned and saw Linda's pale face, coldly watching the scene of mother-daughter affection. Just as I was about to burst out laughing, I quickly coughed to draw everyone's attention to me, who had just entered. My mom followed the sound and focused on me. She stood up happily, took my hand, and introduced me to my new sister, Nicole. "This is your eldest sister, Winnie. Winnie, this is your biological sister, Nicole." I nodded, smiling politely but distantly. "I've already heard." "Hello, Sister Nicole." Nicole looked startled, probably not expecting that there was another eldest daughter in the Scott family. After all, I had been groomed as the heir since childhood and had been studying abroad, only staying at home for a few days each year. It was precisely because I was recognized as the heir from a young age that Linda had been refused to obey since childhood, thinking that I had stolen what belonged to her. So every time I came home, she would always play some underhanded tricks. Nicole came to her senses and gave me an innocent smile, looking at me expectantly. "Hello, sister." If I hadn't heard what she said earlier, I would have really thought she was an innocent little flower. However, it was understandable. Her identity, which should have been hers, had been occupied by someone else for 18 years. Just as it was about to be restored, the imposter was using her green tea tactics to try to take back what didn't belong to her. If I were in her place, I might also use magic to defeat magic. In the end, my mom couldn't bear to part with either of them, so she let both of them stay in the Scott family. After all, with the Scott family's vast wealth and influence, supporting one more daughter was no big deal. Nicole's room was arranged next to Linda's. Although the education I received since childhood taught me not to argue with such kids, seeing Linda's frustrated look made me feel extremely satisfied. I truly hated Linda. She made me realize that some people are just born bad. She was 6 years old and I was 12 at that time. I was already studying abroad and only came back during summer and winter vacations. To my surprise, as soon as I got back, I found Linda abusing the kitten I had left at home. She told our parents that the kitten scratched her, so she hid it. I looked at the scratch on her hand. It was faint and didn't even bleed. Moreover, my kitten had a gentle nature and would never scratch people. After checking the surveillance, I found out that the kitten accidentally scratched her when she was torturing it. I was very angry. But my mom said she was still young and didn't know better, and asked me to be more tolerant. She was very good at acting cute, and my mom always took her side. I've known since I was a child that the cute kids get the candy, but the heir of the Scott family doesn't need someone who can only act cute, so I studied and worked extremely hard. Hard work pays off. When I turned 18, my dad personally handed over the company to me. As for Linda, she had been raised into a useless young lady who only knew how to fight internally and act arrogantly. Even her current high school was bought with money. Now that she was about to enter her senior year of high school, I'm afraid her grades wouldn't even reach the undergraduate admission line. As for Nicole, I didn't have any strong feelings for her. Besides the blood relationship, we didn't seem to have any other connections. However, it would be good to use her to dampen Linda's arrogance. She didn't seem to cause as much trouble as Linda. As it turned out, I was wrong again. Right after a meeting, before I even had a chance to take a sip of water, I received a call from home. "Winnie, it's Mom. Something happened to your sister Nicole at school. Can you go and take a look?" I rubbed my forehead. "Mom, why don't you go yourself?" my mom said reluctantly. "I just went abroad to meet your dad yesterday and can't make it back in time." Was helpless. My mom was a husband, dependent and love-struck woman who couldn't bear to be apart from my dad for a moment. Even when my dad went on a business trip abroad, she would rush to be with him. I agreed. "Fine, I'll go and see what happened. It shouldn't be too serious." The teacher said she had a conflict with a classmate. Great. Another troublemaker had been added to the family. After hanging up the phone, I couldn't help but send a message to my dad, who was on a business trip abroad. "Dad, is there anyone in our family who has a brain besides me?" My dad didn't reply. He was probably also doubting his genes. To take better care of Nicole, my mom transferred her to a local famous private high school a few days ago. Now she and Linda were in the same high school. Given their personalities, they were definitely going to cause more trouble at school. Sure enough, as soon as I arrived at the school, I saw Nicole, soaking wet, wrapped in a large towel, sitting silently in the office. Standing next to her was that troublemaker, Linda. As soon as Nicole saw me, she immediately welled up with tears in her red eyes and called out pitifully, "Sister." I glanced at her indifferently and said to the teacher beside me, "Hello, teacher, I'm their sister, Winnie." What happened? Sigh. I really didn't want to admit that I was the sister of these two idiots. The teacher seemed a bit hesitant to speak. "Hello, Miss Winnie, Linda and Nicole had a conflict, and Linda pushed her into the swimming pool. Have you checked the surveillance?" The teacher looked startled. "What?" I was getting impatient. "There must be surveillance cameras around such a big swimming pool, right, Miss Winnie? Is that necessary? After all, so many teachers saw that it was Linda who pushed her. It wasn't that I was trying to protect Linda. After getting along with her for so many years, I knew she wasn't stupid enough to push Nicole into the swimming pool in front of so many people. Probably, the news that Linda was adopted had spread around the school. I knew exactly what kind of people they were. They were all snobs who treated others differently based on their status. Of course, they would side with the real wealthy daughter. They probably didn't expect that I would want to check the surveillance. Everyone looked extremely surprised, especially Nicole. A look of panic flashed across her face, and she secretly tugged at the corner of my clothes. "Sister, forget it. Maybe Sister Linda accidentally bumped into me. I don't want to pursue this," I said coldly. As a member of the Scott family, we should rely on evidence when dealing with matters. Sure enough, the surveillance showed that Linda had provoked Nicole by the pool, saying that she was born but not raised. But she didn't actually touch her. When the teacher was approaching, Nicole grabbed her hand and then jumped into the pool on her own, creating an illusion that Linda had pushed her in. The surveillance was the most conclusive evidence. I just couldn't understand why these people didn't think before acting. Nicole's face turned deathly pale, and she even forgot to pretend to be weak. Linda looked at her triumphantly and continued to taunt. "Now the truth is out. I know you blame me for stealing your identity for so many years, but I'm also a victim. There's no need for you to frame me like this. If it weren't for Sister standing up for me today, I might have taken the blame." Nicole looked at me in a panic. Sister, it's not true, I didn't do it. Before Nicole could finish, I slapped Linda across the face. Winnie, how dare you hit me? Everyone was stunned, and no one could react. Since when has our family's upbringing been like this? Do I need to repeat what you said? Born but not raised. To Mom, Linda knew she was in the wrong and didn't dare to say a word. I was too lazy to listen to their explanations and said goodbye to the teacher. Teacher, please give them both a leave today. I'll take them home and teach them a lesson. Okay, Miss Winnie. I took the two of them out of the school. The atmosphere in the car was extremely tense. Nicole was wrapped in a towel, shivering. While Linda had a cold expression and refused to say a word to me, I suddenly felt a bit sorry for Nicole. After all, everything that Linda had originally belonged to her, and it was normal for her to be resentful. I would feel the same way. Go home and change your clothes first. Don't catch a cold. And neither of you is allowed to tell Mom and Dad about what happened today. My rare kindness surprised both of them in the car. Linda, who had always been refused to obey me, was the first to get angry. Why, Winnie, I didn't do anything wrong. Why should I suffer this injustice? I grabbed Linda by the collar, leaned in, and whispered in her ear, Linda, just for the words you said by the pool, not only Nicole but even I would want to drown you in the pool. Linda still seemed reluctant, but finally didn't say anything. Just as I was getting out of the car, she grabbed me and whispered sinisterly in my ear, Sister, this pure Lotus type is more sophisticated than me and has really won Mom's favor. Aren't you afraid that she'll steal the family fortune in the future? I smiled and patted her shoulder. It's a waste of breath to talk to someone so stupid. With their grades, one got 321 and the other got 305 in the college entrance examination mock exams. What could they compete with? People who don't even have a chance of getting into a university just keep daydreaming all day long. In the following days, they really didn't let me have a peaceful day. If my parents hadn't asked me to keep an eye on them because they were worried about leaving them alone at home, I wouldn't want to stay in this house for a single minute. For example, even during breakfast, they would taunt and scold each other. Holding a sandwich, Linda casually said, Sister Nicole, who were you talking to on the phone so happily last night? Are you in a relationship? Nicole looked timid and replied in a low voice, it was an old classmate. I'm not in a relationship. Oh, but I heard you call someone darling yesterday. Lying isn't a good habit, sister, and our family doesn't allow puppy love. Nicole looked panicked and glanced at me, seeking my help. She murmured, Sister, don't look at me. I don't want to get involved in your business. But after all, I'm now half the elder in the family. I put down my water cup and said calmly, if you don't want to eat, then go to school. Stop making a fuss here. Linda was about to say something more, but was silenced by my glare. Since Nicole came back, Linda's position had become extremely awkward. Although our parents said she was still the second daughter and would still be doted on as before, things were different, and her state of mind had also changed. The threat Nicole posed to her was much greater than mine, because Nicole was constantly stealing her favor. Her hostility towards Nicole grew deeper and deeper, and they became more and more confrontational. Linda reluctantly looked away. Without waiting for Nicole to finish eating, she picked up her school bag, called the driver, and left in a hurry. There was no other choice but for me to drive Nicole to school. This was the first time I was alone with my blood-related younger sister. She sat obediently in the passenger seat, even nervously swallowing a mouthful of saliva. For some reason, I always felt that she was afraid of me, although I usually dislike everyone in the family. Do I look like I would eat people? Is there really that much to be afraid of? I wanted to break the awkward silence and spoke first. How's your study progress? Can you keep up? Nicole forced a smile. It's okay. I almost forgot. She got 321 points in the mock exam. Maybe I shouldn't have asked. When Mom and Dad come back, I'll ask them to hire a tutor for you. With these grades, I'm afraid you won't even reach the undergraduate admission line. Mom and Dad said your grades have always been excellent. Can you teach me? After all, hiring a tutor is quite expensive, Nicole said with a glimmer of expectation in her eyes. I knew she was trying to get closer to me, but little sister, I'm really busy with work. It's okay, we have the money. And we can afford a tutor. Besides, I'm going on a business trip next week, so I probably won't have time. Nicole's eyes dimmed, and she let out a disappointed, oh. Then the car fell silent again. Since childhood, Linda and I have been at odds. She only brought me pain during my childhood, with no trace of warmth. As a result, I've become extremely cold when it comes to emotions and family affection. Nicole's hostility has always been directed at Linda, who stole her identity. Most of the time, Nicole only fought back after Linda made the first move. The term, pure white lotus, is just a way to describe the undercurrents between her and Linda. Thinking about it now, if our identities hadn't been switched, having a sister like Nicole would probably be much better than having Linda. Although their grades and mental faculties are similar, at least Nicole isn't as malicious. When we arrived at the school, before Nicole got out of the car, I said something rare and sincere. Linda has been spoiled by mom. If you ever feel wronged, remember to tell me or our parents. I didn't want her to bear things alone and become as cold-hearted as me. This is your home too. Nicole was taken aback, probably not expecting me to say that. The well-behaved image she maintained every day suddenly crumbled. Her eyes turned slightly red, but it wasn't the same as when she first came. She smiled sweetly and said, "Okay, goodbye, sister." Watching Nicole walk into the school, I left with peace of mind. Sometimes, blood relations are truly amazing. Usually, I would never say such things to my family, but today, I gave so many instructions out of the blue. This act was like an ice-breaking operation. From then on, Nicole started getting closer to me more openly. When I was working in the study, she would bring me tea and snacks. When I was free, she would share the latest good dramas with me. Although I always told her to watch fewer dramas and study harder since the college entrance examination was approaching, I found it hard to resist this subtle care, until the day our parents came back. My dad was on a business trip abroad at that time, and it was the first time he met Nicole. The usually serious middle-aged man's expression finally changed. He gave her a supplementary credit card and many gifts, almost wanting to spoil her like the second Linda. But afraid of neglecting the daughter he had raised for more than 10 years, he turned to comfort Linda. I couldn't help but say, "Dad, giving her so many things is not as practical as hiring a tutor for them." I took out their report cards from the past few days, and the table fell silent. Linda has poor grades, probably because she didn't inherit my genes. But what about you, Nicole, with 321 points? Which factory do you plan to work in? My dad was indeed a bit narcissistic. But with his college entrance examination score of 680, he did have the right to be. When it comes to grades and education, parents across the country seem to be on the same page. The warm moment of acknowledging Nicole as the daughter was completely ruined. Linda's face darkened completely because of the comment about not inheriting the genes. It constantly reminded her that she wasn't a real member of the Scott family, but I wasn't going to comfort her out of kindness. I added fuel to the fire. Maybe she inherited mom's genes. My mom is a beautiful but naive woman. She doesn't have much common sense and is completely infatuated with love. Usually, Linda can easily coax her into buying whatever she wants and supporting whatever she does. She's a typical person who takes sides with her loved ones rather than the truth. Back then, when Linda had a conflict with a classmate and pushed the person down the stairs, breaking the child's leg, it was my mom who spent money to settle the matter. Because Linda cried a few times in front of my mom couldn't bear to scold her at all. That's why I suffered a lot of grievances since I was a child, and naturally, I'm not close to my mom, and this failed education was fully manifested later on. Linda's grades in the low 300s and her trouble-making personality were all the results of my mom's excessive spoiling. Finally, our parents started to seriously focus on their grades. They began to hire tutors for them. They had classes at school during the day and tutoring classes at night, determined to improve their grades. With the heavy study burden, the two of them didn't have time to fight with each other anymore. My dad and I sat in the study, drinking tea and enjoying the rare peace. My dad sighed. "Finally, they can be quiet for a while. Linda was spoiled by your mom before. And now Nicole isn't free from worry either. You're the only sensible one. Never causing trouble for us since you were a child." I paused with the teacup in my hand, feeling a bit dazed. I'm older than my sisters, so of course I should be more understanding. I knew what they liked to hear. This was the sentence I heard the most since I was a child. Sure enough, my dad was pleased. "Winnie, you're so sensible. You're the most like me, and I trust you the most to take care of the company." I smiled but didn't say anything, since I couldn't get their favor. I might as well get more money, but this peaceful life didn't last long. Linda started a new round of drama. Since Nicole came back, the news of Linda being an adopted child had only spread in private circles. To show their attention to Nicole, our parents decided to hold a recognition ceremony and publicly announce Nicole's identity. But in Linda's eyes, this was a blatant slap in the face. Didn't this clearly show that she wasn't the real daughter of the Scott family? That night, she couldn't hold back and questioned our parents directly. Didn't you promise that you would love me the same as before? Why do you want to announce her identity in public now? My mom, afraid of hurting her feelings, said soothingly, your dad and I still love you. We just want to give your sister an official identity. What about me? Have you ever thought about how I feel? Now everyone knows she's the real one and I'm the fake one, and you want to make it public. Isn't that just asking everyone to laugh at me? Linda cried hysterically, accusing our parents over and over again. My mom's eyes turned red in a hurry, not knowing how to comfort her. But Linda wouldn't listen and insisted that my mom cancel the recognition ceremony. My dad, annoyed by her words, slapped Linda across the face. Have we spoiled you too much that you dare to talk to your parents like this? This recognition ceremony will be held whether you like it or not. Linda covered her face, looking at my dad in disbelief. A look of hatred slowly appeared on her face. Fine, from now on, either she goes or I go. Then she rushed out of the house without looking back. Linda, my mom was about to chase after her, but my dad stopped her. Let her go. Where else can she go? She'll be back soon. She's been completely spoiled by you, Nicole comforted my mom. Maybe we should listen to Sister Linda and cancel the ceremony, but my dad refused. His authority couldn't be challenged. No, it must be held. I nodded at Nicole, signaling her to stop talking. She nodded and sat quietly aside. As expected, Linda came back soon, but she seemed different. She composed herself and looked sincere. Mom and Dad, I know I was wrong. I won't cause trouble anymore. I stole Nicole's identity for so many years and was so unreasonable. I'm sorry. Can you forgive me? Won't you abandon me? My mom felt so sorry for her and hugged her, crying, silly girl, you're also mom's precious. How could I abandon you? Then she turned to Nicole and apologized. I'm sorry, Nicole, I shouldn't have been so mean to you. Can you forgive me? Her sudden change caught us off guard. Nicole stammered. It's okay. I'm not angry. That's great. From now on, we'll be good sisters. She happily took Nicole's hand, pretending to be very close. If I didn't know her true nature since childhood, I might have been deceived by this kind, looking side of hers. That night, Nicole knocked on my door. Sister, can I come in? Come in, I said. She walked in with a box of cookies and a small cake. This was the first time she entered my room, and she was curiously looking around, compared to Linda's room, which was covered with idol posters and filled with clothes and jewelry. My room was very simple. I asked, what's up? She held up the things in her hand. I just baked these cookies and a cake. Can you try them for me? Sister, did you make them yourself? I was surprised. Living in a world of plenty, even luxury, I had never tasted food or desserts made by my family. I curiously picked up a cookie. It was crispy with a hint of milk flavor and sweet. Not bad, they're delicious. Nicole let out a sigh of relief. That's good. I was afraid you wouldn't like them. They're really good. With this level, you could open a dessert shop. I rarely ate sweets, but these cookies were sweet without being greasy and suited my taste. Sister, how did you know I want to open a dessert shop? There was a different light in the girl's eyes. You want to open a dessert shop? Nicole nodded, her eyes full of longing. Yes, opening a dessert shop has always been my dream, anyway. My grades are not good, and I probably can't do anything great. This was the first time I heard her talk about her dream. I became interested in her past life. I asked carefully, did your previous parents treat you well? Nicole seemed to be lost in thought, not answering for a long time. Just when I thought she wouldn't answer, she suddenly said, Sister, if I say they didn't, will you think I'm playing the victim? I found it a bit funny. Do you think I'm that bad? Nicole blushed and quickly explained, no, sister, you're very nice. It's just that when I first came, you seemed very cold, so I was a bit scared. Before I could speak, she hurriedly added, I used to think you would dislike me like Linda, but now it's different. I really like you. I stood there, stunned, having been in the business world for so long. I could tell at a glance if someone was sincere. This was probably the first time in so many years that someone sincerely said they liked me. Was this what it felt like to have a sister? Did they ever hit you? Nicole nodded. Actually, I knew I wasn't their biological daughter a long time ago. They were always looking for my biological parents. They thought I took their daughter's place, so they often beat me. Sister, I don't want to steal anyone's place. I just wanted to find Mom, Dad, and you. Nicole started crying, and for the first time, I felt at a loss. And for the first time, I had the urge to protect someone. But I never expected that I almost lost her forever. Linda remained quiet for several days. maintaining a harmonious appearance at home, until the day of the recognition ceremony. The ceremony was held in our family's hotel. Besides business partners and relatives and friends, there were also the two girls' classmates. To show no favoritism, our parents bought the same high-end custom-made dresses for Linda and Nicole. Just before the ceremony started, our parents took the three of us there. "Mom and Dad, can I ride in the same car as you? Let Nicole ride with sister," Linda said. Since she had been behaving well recently, they agreed to this small request. When getting in the car, she gave me a meaningful look, and I wondered what she was up to. I get carsick very easily, so I usually drive myself to avoid it. This time was no exception. I refused the driver and drove to the venue with Nicole, but I soon regretted it. 5 minutes after getting in the car, I noticed something was wrong. The brakes didn't work. I held the steering wheel tightly, telling myself to stay calm. I drove the car towards a road with fewer people for safety. Nicole quickly realized something was wrong. "This wasn't the way to the hotel. Sister, what's going on? Where are we going?" I took a deep breath. The car was getting faster and faster. Remembering Linda's look earlier, I broke out in a cold sweat. Could it really be her? As the car made sharp turns, Nicole was thrown from side to side. Even the slow-witted would realize something was wrong. "Sister, what's wrong? Why isn't the car working? The brakes don't work. Hold on tight. Trust me." I avoided the curves one by one, racing against death. Damn Linda, she actually wanted to kill us. In the end, the car lost control and crashed into the railing. The airbag deployed, but due to inertia, Nicole lost consciousness from the impact. No matter how much I called her, she didn't respond. At this moment, half of the car was hanging in the air. If I moved slightly, there was a risk of it falling. I urgently searched for my phone and called the police and emergency services. As long as I turned my head, I could see blood gushing from Nicole's forehead. I called her name over and over again, but there was no response. The police arrived quickly, and we were successfully rescued. However, due to the violent impact, a long shard of glass had pierced Nicole's abdomen. In the ambulance, Nicole went into shock. On the way to the hospital, the traffic police and the police quickly figured out what had happened. As expected, the dashcam clearly recorded that Linda had maliciously damaged the brakes. I held my phone and waited for news outside the emergency room. When my parents heard the news, they rushed to the hospital with Linda. At that moment, they had no idea what a devil the daughter they had doted on for more than 10 years was. The moment I saw her, I couldn't hold back anymore. I slapped her across the face and kicked her to the ground with all my strength. Just as I was about to throw a punch, my parents stopped me. "Winnie, stop, what's going on?" This was the first time I broke down emotionally. I shouted at them, "Ask your precious daughter what she's done. She sabotaged the brakes of my car, and now Nicole's life is hanging in the balance." My parents couldn't believe it. Linda kept denying it. "I didn't do it. Mom and Dad, you have to believe me. How could I do such a heartless thing?" I stood up and looked down at her coldly. "Save these words for the police. Let's see if they'll believe you in the face of the evidence." Linda was taken away by the police. My parents looked as if they had aged more than 10 years, slumped in their chairs, speechless. Thankfully, Nicole wasn't in critical condition. She woke up a day after the surgery, but this wasn't the end of it. I sued Linda for attempted murder. She was just a newly turned adult student, and her methods were far from sophisticated, full of loopholes. My mother even asked if it was too harsh, considering Linda was my sister. I was so angry that I laughed. I asked her if it would only be considered serious if someone died. She fell silent. In the end, Linda was sentenced to 10 years in prison. She had ruined her own life. In court, she kept shouting that Nicole and I had stolen everything from her and that we deserved to die. Her crazy appearance was truly disgusting. Fortunately, she was no longer related to us. Epilogue from Nicole's perspective. My name is Nicole, and I'm 18 years old, actually. I've known for a long time that I wasn't my parents' biological child. I was the baby who got switched at the hospital. They had always been looking for their real daughter. My adoptive parents thought I had taken their child's place, so they were never nice to me. They either beat me or verbally abused me. In such an environment, I learned to adapt to different people and act like an innocent white lotus to protect myself. One day, my adoptive father got drunk again. Before he could hit me, I ran away. Sitting at the entrance of the hospital where the mix-up had occurred, I wondered if my biological parents would have loved me if I hadn't been switched. Finally, my adoptive father died of alcohol poisoning that year, and my adoptive mother died from overwork. I finally found my biological parents, but the girl who had been switched with me was very hostile towards me. Her sarcastic attitude made me fight fire with fire. Luckily, my biological mother favored me and ignored the other girl. To my surprise, I also had an older sister in this family. She was cold towards the family, seemingly disliking everyone equally. She often watched with glee as Linda and I clashed, but I couldn't help but want to get closer to her. Gradually, I realized that she wasn't as hard to get along with as I thought. Although she always called me stupid and criticized my poor grades, she would unconsciously protect me. She told me to speak up if I was wronged and that this was my home too. These were the first kind words she ever said to me. She also loved watching dramas and eating sweets, especially the ones I made. I was so happy to have a beautiful and powerful sister, at least until Linda went crazy. On the day of the recognition ceremony, Linda tampered with our car. I almost lost my life. When I opened my eyes, I saw my sister with red, rimmed eyes from crying. Even she had moments of vulnerability and fear. She was also a girl who needed to be taken care of. At that moment, I had a strong urge. I wanted to become strong enough to be her support in the future. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, let's continue to see another similar story. I transmigrated into a story about a real and fake wealthy daughter, and my younger sister, Stella, was using a green tea system to mess with me. Don't panic. I also have a story, modifying system, and I'll teach her a lesson. In the original plot, Stella activates the green tea system and delicately buries herself in her mother's embrace. I change embrace to crotch. Stella squeezes her limbs together, curls up into a ball, and frantically crawls under her mother's body, hugging miniskirt. I cover my eyes. This is an eyesore, an insult to decency. It's just crazy. I'm incredibly lucky. I became the female lead in this real and fake, wealthy daughter story and even got a story modifying system. I can only return home by changing the female lead's tragic fate. In the original plot, after the biological parents brought the female lead home, they blindly favored the younger sister. Under the younger sister's disgusting schemes, the female lead was finally sent to a mental hospital and poisoned to death. I'm really confused. Since the biological parents brought their daughter back, why didn't they make up for her properly? Why did they let their child be tortured like that? Is this child really not some freebie from a supermarket purchase? In all stories about real and fake wealthy daughters, the most detestable characters are the biological parents. They're simply muddle-headed. The system reminds me that in this version, the fake wealthy daughter has a green tea system, which allows her to make others pity and dote on her, and she's very good at playing the victim. It doesn't matter. This isn't a big deal. Just watch my story. Modifying system teach her a lesson. Just as I'm thinking this, my younger sister, Stella, gives me a sinister smile, then pretends to twist her ankle in front of me and plops down on the stairs. She doesn't forget to let out a scream when Mom hears the commotion and rushes to the stairs. Stella's eyes instantly turn red. She really loves using this old trick. According to the original plot, Stella will frame the female lead, tearfully accusing her of pushing her. When the female lead explains, "I didn't," Mom won't believe her and will even punish the female lead by making her sleep in the storage room. I unfolded my hands at Mom and say, "This has nothing to do with me. Do you believe me?" Sure enough, bewitched by the green tea system, Mom gets angry at me as soon as she sees the pitiful looking Stella. "Rose, how do you take care of your sister? Didn't you even try to help her when she fell?" What a biased mother who doesn't care about right or wrong. This kind of character fits my stereotype of the mother in real and fake, wealthy daughter stories. The original plot reads, Stella, who has fallen on the stairs, activates the green tea system. Weakly, she reaches out to brush back her disheveled hair, grits her teeth and endures the pain as she gets up, leaning against the wall, and says in a coy voice, "Mom, sister didn't push me on purpose. It was my own carelessness. I don't care if it makes sense or not. I change," has fallen on, to, is standing on her head. Suddenly, Stella's body seems to be out of her control. She quickly gets up, places her hands on the ground, and stands on her head on the stairs. Looking extremely weak, she even manages to pull out one hand to brush her hair, supporting her entire upside down body with just one hand, and she doesn't forget to recite her lines. "Mom, Sister didn't push me on purpose, it was my own carelessness. Stella has no idea why this is happening and looks completely helpless. Mom is stunned when she sees this incredible scene and completely ignores what Stella said about accusing me. I clap my hands and say to Mom, Mom, with my sister's skills, she doesn't need my help at all. I won't even watch the gymnastics competition at the Olympics if my sister isn't in it, and to make things even more embarrassing, she's wearing a dress. When she's standing on her head, the dress flips down, and her underwear is exposed. What an eyesore. Stella's face turns red, and suddenly, the hand supporting her body cramps. She loses her balance and crashes straight into Mom beside her, with a scream of, "Ah!" Mom and Stella collide, their heads and feet hitting each other. Looking extremely awkward, Mom is pinned down by Stella and is in so much pain that it feels like her bones are breaking. Dad, who is walking towards them, has no idea what's going on. When he sees Stella and Mom in that strange position, he's completely confused. He steps forward and pulls them apart, shouting angrily, "How could you do such immoral things?" Although she's suffered a defeat at my hands once, I know that with Stella's personality, she definitely won't give up. Since I was just brought back from the orphanage, Dad thought I hadn't seen much of the world, so he specially sent me to a horse ranch to learn horseback riding. Stella, of course, won't miss this once in lifetime opportunity. Dad, don't worry, Sister definitely won't be an idle good for nothing. Stella steals a glance at me and deliberately says in a sarcastic tone. She takes advantage of the fact that she was switched at birth and has obtained the resources that originally belonged to the female lead, but now she's mocking the female lead. She really deserves to be taught a lesson. Fortunately, she ran into me. If it were an ordinary real wealthy daughter, they might not be able to deal with her. Stella plans to use the green tea system to show off her advanced equestrian skills. Hoping to get praised by our parents and thus crush the female lead's confidence, she provocatively smiles and says, "Sister, horseback riding is very easy, even an idiot can learn it quickly. Let me show you how it's done." The original plot describes, Stella tenses her legs, leaps lightly, and in the blink of an eye, rides the horse and gallops away. "Want to step on me? No way. Just watch how I deal with you." I change, rides the horse, to, carries the horse on her back. Stella tenses her legs, leaps lightly, bends down, and knees, wraps the horse's two front hooves around her neck, then holds up the horses but with both hands and runs away with the horse on her back. It's like a scene of regression. The equestrian teacher is stunned, the horse is stunned, and Dad is also dumbfounded. I explain to the astonished Dad, maybe she has a dream of joining the circus. When Stella comes back after running a lap, she's exhausted and her legs are shaking. Dad is so embarrassed that he leaves, looking at Stella, whose clothes are covered in straw and whose hair has horse saliva on it. I can't help but laugh. She doesn't even need to change her makeup if she applies for a role as a refugee now. When she sees that no one is around, she reveals her true colors to me. The new plot reads, Stella flies into a rage, raises her foot, and kicks towards Rose, shouting, "You're just an orphan from the orphanage. How dare you laugh at me?" Since she doesn't have the strength to walk properly, I'll do her a favor. I change, kicks towards, to, crawls towards. Stella flies into a rage, lies on the ground, crawls towards me on all fours, and shouts, "You're just an orphan from the orphanage. How dare you laugh at me? Why am I like this?" Stella is shocked. When she realizes that she's crawling in front of me like a turtle, she lets out a deafening scream. I hear Stella talking to herself in the corner. "System. Are you malfunctioning? Why was I carrying a horse and running just now? What? You don't know either. What's the use of you? Hurry up and find out. Go ahead and investigate. Even if she finds out, she can't do anything to me. After all, my system is more advanced." Having lost face, Stella vows to get back at me. She invites me to her sister's afternoon tea party, saying it's to help me fit into this circle, but actually, she wants to intimidate me. I hear them plotting loudly and arrogantly outside the door. "Stella, don't worry, we'll definitely support you. You're the darling of our group. How can she just break up your happy family of more than 10 years? Who does she think she is? Rose is just a useless person trying to steal what doesn't belong to her. We must teach her a lesson and make her know her place." These are all daughters from wealthy families, but they're forming cliques without feeling ashamed. I walk into the magnificent dining hall, and they look at me with disdain and contempt. Originally, the female lead dressed up carefully to fit into this group, but in the original plot, she was splashed with tea by Stella's little sisters, making her look extremely embarrassed and losing all her face. The original plot reads, Stella activates the green tea system, gently bites her lower lip, and with a pitiful look in her eyes, she walks up to Rose and says considerately, "It's not sister's fault that we were switched at birth, let's not bully her." Then her sisters will say things like, "You're so kind-hearted," and turn around to mock the female lead. I change, walks up to, rolls up to, Stella walks gracefully, but in full view of everyone, her feet suddenly give way, and she curls up into a ball, rolling towards me like a whirlwind. Her bright red underpants under her white gauze skirt are accidentally exposed, which is quite fashion-forward. She looks up and recites the line, "It's not sister's fault that we were switched at birth, let's not bully her." This change makes her sisters look shocked. What is Stella doing? They're all from prominent families, and even the young siblings at home wouldn't roll around on the ground. Stella's behavior makes them feel extremely disgusted. A hot-tempered sister directly shouts, "Stella, are you crazy? Can you get up and talk? This is so embarrassing." After saying that, she reaches out to pull Stella up. The plot reads, the girl gives Stella a pull. I change, the girl gives Stella a pull, to, the girl pulls a handful of excrement onto Stella's face. After making this change, I can't help but feel a chill. I'm so vicious. The girl who was originally going to pull Stella up suddenly feels a sharp pain in her stomach and can't hold it in anymore. Some indescribable things land right on Stella's face. I'm shocked and take several steps back. The other girls all freeze. Stella's screams ring through the hall. She waves her hands desperately, hitting the sister who had diarrhea, crying, "Stay away, go away, Aya." The others have never seen such a scene, and shouts ring out in the hall. "Security, where's the security? Hurry, throw them out. This is so disgusting." When I leave, I hear the receptionists discussing this. From then on, this restaurant has one more unlucky gossip story. Stella goes to a hotel to open a room and take a shower. If it weren't for the green tea system, the lobby manager would have thrown her out. She angrily scolds her system, "You useless thing, you still haven't found out the reason. Do you want me to keep embarrassing myself? If there's a bug, go fix it, you good for nothing system." I watch her make a fool of herself the whole time. When we get home, she blames me for falling out with her sisters. Stella uses 2 whole bottles of shower gel and shampoo, but the smell still hasn't completely gone away. Mom's face turns cold when she sees Stella looking so depressed and asks us what happened. Just as I'm about to tell the whole story, Stella starts crying and says, "First, Mom, don't blame sister. She had no choice. It's all my fault. I stole sister's life. So whatever she does to me, I deserve it." I look at the new plot, which reads, Stella activates the green tea system. Looks at Mom with innocent eyes, holds her hand, and says, "Mom, if my existence causes trouble for sister, I'm willing to leave." And Mom will pat her head, say she's the most well-behaved and that she's the apple of Mom's eye, and scold me for being an irresponsible sister who bullies her younger sister just because she's the real wealthy daughter. I wave my hand and change, holds her hand, to, sucks on her hand. Stella activates the green tea system. Gives Mom a look that would make a murderer feel guilty, then holds her hand tightly and stuffs all 10 of her fingers into her mouth to suck on them. Although I made the change, I really didn't expect that Stella's small cherry-like mouth had such potential. Mom's hands are big, but she can stuff most of both of Mom's palms into her mouth. This is clearly a bottomless pit. Stella sucked on her mother's fingers like sucking on noodles. Mumbling incoherently, "Mom, if my existence causes trouble for sister, I'm willing to leave." Mom had just fertilized the flowers at home, and there was some nutrient on her hands, giving off a strong smell. I clicked my tongue continuously. The expressions on their faces were both as constipated, looking at each other. Even the maid passing by was stunned. The maid secretly pulled me aside and asked what was going on. I told her, "They're showing a touching scene of mother-daughter love, Stella." "What are you doing sucking on my hand? It's so disgusting, let go now." Mom shrieked and struggled desperately. Finally, Stella's jaw dislocated, and she released her mouth. Mom quickly pulled her hand back. Now she couldn't spout her green tea words anymore. Stella threw up. I covered my nose and took a few more steps back. I didn't want to be affected by this. Although she didn't understand her adopted daughter's disgusting behavior, Mom continued to follow the original plot. The text read, Mom's hand stroked Stella's face and then touched her head. saying, "Don't talk nonsense, my Stella is no trouble at all. Stella is my sweet little cotton, padded jacket, my precious heart, Mom loves you the most." I changed hand to foot. Mom's eyes suddenly turned gentle and proud. She kicked off her slippers on the spot and flung off her socks. She lifted her leg high and stepped on Stella's face with her foot painted with red nail polish. Stella was on the verge of tears. She wanted to escape, to run away, but her body seemed to be frozen in place, unable to move at all. She screamed desperately, "Mom, no," but Mom's body was also out of control. Her size 38 foot landed on Stella's head, and she touched her head, saying, "Don't talk nonsense, my Stella is no trouble at all. Stella is my sweet little cotton, padded jacket, my precious heart, Mom loves you the most." The maid and I both let out exclamations of disbelief. After all, at Mom's age, being able to perform such a difficult move similar to a split was simply amazing. She was still agile and charming. Stella, who always loved to be clean, couldn't stand having someone else's foot touch her face. She pushed Mom away in a hurry. Mom fell to the ground and fainted, with blood flowing from the back of her head. The maid quickly called an ambulance. Stella panicked. When Dad asked about the cause of Mom's fainting in the hospital, Stella looked at me. The new plot read. Stella looked at Dad with a look of 3 tenths fragility and 7 tenths innocence, walking towards him, holding his hand and saying, "Dad, if it weren't for me, Sister wouldn't have hurt Mom like this." Because of Stella's words, Dad would lock the female lead in the basement for a month, and Stella would give the female lead spoiled rice, causing her to get acute gastroenteritis. She always shifted the blame to me whenever something went wrong. I wasn't going to take this unjust blame. I changed, holding his hand, to licking his hand. She suddenly lowered her head and licked Dad's hand, saying, "Dad, if it weren't for me, Sister wouldn't have hurt Mom like this." Dad withdrew his hand in surprise and told Stella to stand up straight and speak properly. He also asked if she was sick. But she kept following the direction of Dad's hand, licking non-stop, as if her tongue was bound by a following system. Dad couldn't understand why his beloved daughter, who he had always doted on, would do such an offensive thing, and because his wife's life was uncertain and Stella wouldn't stop no matter how he tried to stop her, Dad, for the first time, had the urge to hit someone. He wanted Stella to stop making a scene and shut up. The plot read, Dad steeled his heart, gritted his teeth, and slapped Stella across the face. I changed, slapped Stella across the face, to slapped Stella 10 times across the face. Dad quickly started slapping, giving Stella 10 big slaps. While Stella still didn't stop licking his hand, Dad slapped, and Stella licked, seemingly enjoying it. The maid was shocked again, looking at Stella's expression, which was hard to tell whether she was crying or laughing. I was stunned for a moment. Could it be that she was actually enjoying it? After this, performance art lasted for a while. Mom woke up. The maid was honest and didn't know how to lie. She told Dad the truth about how Mom fell. Dad's face turned gloomy. Stella, covering her red and swollen face, tried to pretend to be sick to make Dad soften his heart and not pursue the matter. She acted coquettishly towards Mom in the hospital bed, pretending to care about her, but actually belittling me to set off her concern for the family and my indifference. The plot read, Stella activated the green tea system. Her face was as pale as paper, tears streaming down. She leaned weakly into Mom's arms and said, "Although I'm not feeling well either, I'm content to be able to share weal and woe with Mom. Mom would be because I didn't shed a single tear and punish me to kneel in the hospital room until she was discharged." I changed, leaned weakly into Mom's arms, to leaped weakly into Mom's arms. Stella's forehead was covered in a thin layer of sweat. She lifted the quilt and suddenly did a flip in the air, turning 360 degrees. Then she leaped towards Mom's arms. Mom's body couldn't withstand Stella's sudden impact. She spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted on the spot. But Stella was still saying the lines. "Although I'm not feeling well either, I'm content to be able to share weal and woe with Mom." Dad shouted anxiously, "Doctor, doctor, help, someone's killed her." Dad was so angry that he kicked Stella out of the hospital and never allowed her to visit Mom again. He also made her stay at home and reflect, and even transferred the maid away, without an audience. Although she was good at her green tea tricks, she had nowhere to use them. She was so bored at home that she started arguing with the system, but she didn't give up. She still had a new chance to turn the tables. Lucas, the domineering young master of the Liu family, was the male lead in the story. He had a cold and elegant temperament, He was the dream lover of countless girls and the man Stella had been longing for, but Lucas only saw Stella as a younger sister. After the Lincoln family learned that the female lead had been recognized as a member of the Smith family, they sent Lucas to discuss the matter of marriage and choose the candidate for the marriage alliance. Not to mention, Lucas was really good looking. I almost had a crush on him when I saw him. No, I'm a career-oriented female lead. How could I be seduced by a man? In the original plot, Stella was worried that Lucas would fall in love with the female lead and was afraid that the female lead would steal her position as the fiancé. So, during the meal, she deliberately made the female lead eat seafood, causing the female lead to break out in rashes. She made the female lead look extremely embarrassing, hoping to make Lucas dislike the female lead and make the Lincoln family think that the female lead was not presentable. This time, Stella still followed the plan and asked the chef to serve sauce containing seafood ingredients. The original plot read, Stella slowly poured the seafood sauce into the soup, stirred the soup with a spoon, and smiled. The special sauce made by the top chef goes best with the thick soup. I'm sure sister has never tried it. It's delicious, I sneered. Trying to plot against me? No way. I changed, with a spoon, to, with her head. Stella slowly poured the seafood sauce into the soup. Just as she was about to stir it with a spoon, suddenly her whole body froze, and she threw away the spoon. She wanted to call the system for help, but the words got stuck in her throat and she couldn't say them. In full view of everyone, right in front of Lucas, she bent her neck, stuck her head into the soup, and shook her head, stirring the soup round and round. The sauce splashed all over the table. She struggled with a look of despair, but her body wouldn't listen to her. While crying, she still said the lines, the special sauce made by the top chef goes best with the thick soup. I'm sure sister has never tried it. It's delicious. Lucas froze on the spot, a hint of confusion in his eyes. What Dad had been worried about finally happened. He began to suspect that there was something wrong with Stella's mental state and was trying to find the right words to explain Stella's situation to Lucas. After a moment of thought, Lucas felt that since Stella had always been well-behaved, if she was acting so abnormally, she must have been forced by someone. He interrupted Dad and looked at me meaningfully with a, I understand, look. Suddenly, he put on an arrogant expression and said to me, if Miss Song still wants to marry into my family, stop using such means to provoke Stella. Stella is innocent. The Lincoln family won't accept a jealous daughter-in-law. I was completely confused. Did he even listen to what he was saying? When did I say I wanted to marry him? How could he be so narcissistic? I finally met someone with relationship-obsessed brain. The new plot read, Lucas picked up his handkerchief, wiped Stella's face, and said, Stella, don't be afraid. You're a daughter of the Smith family, and no one can take your position away. Fine, since that's the case, don't blame me for being impolite. I changed, picked up his handkerchief, to picked up his sock. Dad watched in disbelief as Lucas crouched under the dining table, rolled up his pants, and took off his black silk sock. His hairy leg was revealed. It was an eyesore. How could a domineering president have hairy legs? And why was he so coquettish, a grown man actually wearing silk socks? Stella stood up. Her hair was mixed with some ingredients and vegetable leaves, as if she had been drenched with a bucket of swill. Lucas took his smelly black men's silk sock and wiped Stella's face, not missing any part of her face, even taking care of her nostrils and the corners of her mouth. He said gently, Stella, don't be afraid. You're a daughter of the Smith family, and no one can take your position away. Stella's expression became extremely resistant, and she shouted, help, desperately. But Lucas wiped her face for a full 5 minutes. The waiters present looked at the two of them with complex and unreadable expressions. I encouraged Dad, Mr. Lucas cares so much about his sister. They look so much like a couple. They're a perfect match. It couldn't be better for them to be together. Dad, don't break them up. When the system's control was lifted, Stella experienced for the first time the feeling of being wiped on the nose and mouth by her male god with a sock. Her psychological endurance was too poor. She was so excited that she fell to the ground. Dad called a private doctor to carry her away. When Lucas came to his senses, he immediately threw the sock into the trash bin at his feet and looked around awkwardly, gauging the reactions of the people around him. If this got out, his image as an unattainable flower on a high mountain would be ruined. When Lucas's eyes met mine, I gave him a, I understand, look and told him, if Mr. Lucas still wants to marry Stella, put on your shoes and socks quickly. Showing such sexy feet is too risky. Who are you trying to seduce? The Smith family won't accept a son-in-law who doesn't abide by male virtues. His face darkened, and he instinctively retracted his bare foot. The matter of the marriage alliance was temporarily suspended. The Song and Lu families decided to discuss it again next time. Stella suddenly fell ill, and this time it was a real illness, a fungal infection. In less than 2 days, she went from having itchy skin on her face to developing red spots, abscesses, and inflammation all over her face. Who said that domineering presidents don't get athlete's foot, with her face ruined, and having an idol image to maintain? Stella didn't dare to go out and see people. She could only stay at home and be a house spirit. Stella used the green tea system to make Dad pity her. During this time, she deliberately made things difficult for the maid several times, saying that the food the maid cooked was not delicious and that there were problems with her cleaning. She wanted to drive away the maid who was on the female lead side. Since the female lead came home, the maid had been taking care of her. And the two of them got along very well. Since she couldn't do anything to the female lead, she would target the people around the female lead. Stella wouldn't let go of anyone the female lead cared about. If she could snatch them away, she would. If she couldn't be bothered, she would just get rid of them. In the original plot, Stella said that her silver necklace was missing and framed the maid, saying that the maid stole it, and drove the maid out of the Smith family. As soon as the maid left, she got into a car accident. The female lead was heartbroken and listless because of this, and could only fall asleep by taking sleeping pills. Stella took the opportunity to forge medical records, claiming that the female lead had a mental illness, and dragged doctors to give the female lead random injections every day. This was one of the reasons for the female lead's tragic death in the end. Good people should live long. I had to help the maid. Stella put on an act and walked towards me. Sister, my silver necklace that I put in the drawer is missing. The maid is the only one who went into my bedroom. I want to search her room. You won't stop me, right? Stella asked for my consent sincerely with her words, but her feet had already taken her to the door of the maid's room. The original plot read, Stella rummaged around in the maid's room and fished out a silver necklace from under the bed. The maid was uneasy. I told her not to panic and instead changed the word silver to gold, and fished out a gold necklace from under the bed. Stella swaggered into the maid's room, rummaged around under the bed for a long time, and pulled out a gold necklace. She let out a hum, as if she had achieved her goal. Just as she was about to deal with the maid, she widened her eyes when she saw what was in her hand. It's impossible. How could it be made of gold? She murmured. Her mother, who had been called to make a judgment, furrowed her brow. Stella claimed that only the maid had been in her room and insisted that the maid had stolen the necklace. Even though she couldn't produce conclusive evidence, she turned the maid's room upside down but still found nothing. For the first time, her mother thought that the daughter she had raised was being unreasonable and wronging an innocent person. To compensate the maid, she gave the maid 2 days of paid leave. After giving Stella an annoyed look, she turned and walked away. Even the person who doted on Stella the most was starting to get tired of her. I wonder how long she can still act up. I crossed my arms and leaned against the wall, chuckling. This attracted Stella's attention. She suddenly realized something and glared at me fiercely. It's you, you're the one who's up to something. My attitude of not taking her seriously at all irritated her. She threatened, "Humph. You won't be able to laugh soon." Before her mother had gone far, Stella walked up to me and slapped herself in a way that was easy to misinterpret. I thought she had some new trick up her sleeve. But was this all she had? Playing the victim? Wasn't this self-harm? I'm sorry, sister. I was too hasty and did something wrong. If you're still angry, you can hit me a few more times. Stella's screams could be heard throughout the villa. Her mother turned back. When she saw Stella's red and swollen face, she hesitated and softened her heart towards Stella. The new plot read, Stella activated the green tea system and delicately burrowed into her mother's embrace. Stella's pitiful appearance would arouse her mother's sympathy, making her mother completely disappointed in me and sending me to the desolate old mansion. I changed, burrowed into her mother's embrace, to burrowed into her mother's crotch. Stella brought her limbs together, curled up into a ball and squatted on the ground, and frantically burrowed under her mother's body-hugging skirt. It's really an eyesore. People who didn't know might think that a pervert from a mental asylum had run out. Her mother exclaimed, asking Stella what on earth she was trying to do. Stella arched so hard that her mother's skirt split. When her father came back, he happened to see this scene and was so shocked that the things in his hand dropped to the ground. He rushed forward to rescue her mother and slapped Stella twice. By the way, it's a misfortune for our family. What kind of sin have I committed? Someone, send her to the old mansion. No one is allowed to let her back without my order. Her father was determined, and Stella was forcefully dragged away by the security guards. When she cursed her system for being useless, my ability to change words was upgraded. I could now change phrases. My father held a banquet, saying that he wanted to announce my identity, but he did it without discussing it with me first. At the banquet, he publicly announced the news of the marriage alliance with the Lincoln family and declared that Lucas's marriage partner was me. Lucas arrived late, holding Stella's hand. Stella used the green tea system. After Lucas learned about her situation, he felt sorry for her. He looked at me like I was garbage and said, "A heartless woman who bullies her sister. Your character is really questionable. You're not worthy of being my wife. Stay away from me. Who the hell wants to be your wife? It's really unlucky." My father was in a dilemma. He clearly intended for me to be in the marriage alliance. He was afraid that if Stella married into the Liu family, she would go crazy and damage the reputation of the Smith family. I said I didn't want to be in the marriage alliance. Lucas hummed and said, "Don't think that by playing hard to get, I'll have a good impression of you. I've seen too many women like you. Are you out of your mind? Why are you being so narcissistic?" Lucas's mother was a musician. The Lincoln family always valued the talents of their daughter-in-law. Stella insisted on showing off her piano skills in front of everyone. "Fine, you came prepared, right? It seems that the previous embarrassments weren't enough. You want to test your own bottom line again? Then I'll definitely make you shine." The new plot read. Stella walked up to the piano, gently placed her hands on the keys, and played the extremely difficult Croatian Rhapsody, which was clear and pure. I directly changed hands to tongue. Stella walked up to the piano. Suddenly, she lowered her head and pressed her tongue on the keys, hitting the keys with her tongue like a chicken pecking at rice. When Lucas saw Stella's crazy appearance, his pupils dilated in shock. Lucas's parents' faces were all wrinkled in disgust. The speed at which she kept flicking her tongue was far faster than that of a woodpecker. "We want to reject animal performances, but we can't stop this animal from performing." Seeing that everyone was engrossed in her performance and had forgotten to applaud, I took the lead in clapping and praised, "Sister, you play the piano so well. Even the best pianists in the world can't play as well as you with your tongue. You're the most suitable to be the Liu family's daughter-in-law." I won't get involved. The media took photos one after another. Stella quickly made it to the hot search and remained there in the scandal section. She was so angry that she stomped her feet. The Smith family was ridiculed because of her, and she was sent to a mental hospital. She tried to use the green tea system to change the scandal, but the green tea system said it was powerless. The green tea system could only help her create opportunities to act like a green tea, and it didn't have the ability to change reality. She was so anxious that she cursed at the system, spitting out all kinds of words without thinking. She even said that she wanted to unbind from her system. I resolutely backed out of the marriage alliance between the Song and Liu families. Sister isn't desperate. I don't have to fall in love with a blind male lead, right? He's a domineering president with athlete's foot. And my word-changing system evolved again. I got the ability to modify entire sentences, but the system also told me something else. Because of my interference, the main plot had changed, and the original story context was lost. I had to improvise and continue writing the subsequent story. It doesn't matter. As long as I have the system, I'm not afraid of anything. You'd better not provoke me, otherwise, I'll make you look bad in no time. But as fate would have it, what I was afraid of happened. Stella lost all her face in public, and Lucas lost interest in her. But then, he made a look of disdain, crooked his mouth, and gave a sinister smile at me. He even deliberately ran into me and said things like, "Heh, woman," one after another. This greasy behavior was really unbearable. I successfully made the female lead avoid all the victim scenes, but I didn't wait for the news of my return home for a long time. Not long after I finished eating at the restaurant, when I was walking on the road, I started to have a fever and my legs went weak. System, what's going on?" The system popped up and explained, "The new main plot is that Stella sneaked out of the mental hospital, staked out at the restaurant I often go to, and sneaked into the kitchen to drug my soup. Damn it, why didn't you tell me earlier?" The system said aggrievedly, "This is the new plot. I just found out about it too." At this moment, Stella appeared in front of me with a few gangsters. She looked at me with a sinister gaze and asked, "You have a system too, right? Every time you're around, nothing good happens. We both have systems. Why do you have to steal things from me?" Don't you understand the principle of first come, first served? She also called me a mistress and said that I had broken up her and Lucas. What did I steal? These things originally belonged to the female lead. How dare she accuse the female lead of being the one in the wrong when she's the one who's taken over? If she uses the system to do bad things, what kind of evil thoughts does she have in her heart? Besides, I don't care about a domineering president with athlete's foot. She brought the gangsters to violate me and ruin my reputation, hoping that Lucas would hate me. She had a sinister smile on her face and told me to enjoy it, while holding a camera and preparing to take photos. My body was very weak and I had no strength. It was impossible for me to run away. Damn it, sending her to the mental hospital was too lenient. I quickly pressed the alarm button on my smartwatch. All I had to do was stall for time and wait for someone to rescue me. The new plot read, Stella directed the gangsters to strip Rose of her clothes. She let out a scream and fainted from fear. I changed the whole sentence to, the gangsters grabbed Rose's coat, jacket, sweater, hoodie, thermal underwear, silk pajamas, shirt, short-sleeved shirt, short jacket, vest, sports bra, underwire bra, and non-underwire bra. After they couldn't finish stripping those, they started to take off her straight-leg pants, suspender pants, harem pants, leather pants, jumpsuit, long johns, shark pants, safety pants, and panties. I couldn't resist. The gangsters took off one piece of my clothes after another. The clothes on me were like a Russian matryoshka doll, endless. They angrily questioned me, are you made of tree rings? There are so many layers. My hands are about to peel from stripping you. After they took off one piece of my clothes, they threw it on the ground. There were so many clothes that they could even set up a stall to sell them, with a complete variety of styles. The new plot appeared again. Stella angrily scolded the gangsters, you useless guys, can you do it or not? If not, let me do it. This was the opportunity she gave me. I wasn't going to be polite. I changed, let me do it, to, come at me, dear sister, you're in for a treat. Stella angrily scolded the gangsters, you useless guys, can you do it or not? If not, come at me. After she said this, she was completely shocked. The gangsters were also shocked. The gangsters let go of me and walked towards her with a lewd look. Second miss, we're sorry about this, I didn't mean that. Stella wanted to explain, but she couldn't get a word out. She wanted to run away, but the gangsters caught her. They pressed her to the ground. Stella struggled and kept calling her system for help. Unfortunately, since she had personally asked to unbind from the system, her system completely disappeared. She was panicked and even pleaded with me for help. The gangsters stripped her down to her underclothes, just as the gangsters were about to show her what they were capable of. The police arrived. TSK, she really got off lightly, the plot said. When Stella saw the police, she grabbed them like a life-saving straw and desperately shouted, I'm the victim, they're all bad guys. They ganged up on me. She pointed the finger at the gangsters and me, what the hell, trying to frame me. I pointed at the surveillance camera above our heads. The evidence was directly presented in front of the police. The false accusations she made were powerless in the face of the evidence. Stella and the gangsters ended up in prison. After she went in, she kept asking the police to send a message, saying that she wanted to see her parents. Unfortunately, her green tea tricks couldn't attract anyone's attention anymore. Her parents had a change of heart and felt guilty towards me when they learned that Stella had bribed the gangsters to insult me. They were so angry that they added more years to her prison sentence as they settled the score for the physical and mental harm she had caused. The mechanical voice of the system rang out, prompting me that I had completed the task and asking if I wanted to return to the original world. I changed my mind. I had wanted to leave before, but now, the family business spread across various industries, and the wealth was like a river converging, flowing continuously. I'm a rich second generation. Why go back to be a wage earner? I'm going to enjoy this luxurious life to the fullest. On the deck of the luxury yacht, I held my beloved cat and looked at the stars. There were a group of beautiful people around me who were exactly my type. I'll enjoy the pleasure of life for everyone first. After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.